Hey everybody, today we are talking about The Ghost Bride by Yang Shichu. The Ghost Bride is set back in the late 1800s and our main character is Leland. In this story, Leland is given a proposal to become married to someone who is already deceased. This is something that actually happens in China. I don't know how much it happens nowadays, but it was something that happened fairly often in the 1800s, early 1900s, where if somebody in a family died before they were able to get married, they would arrange an actual marriage to happen to the deceased. And I believe it normally was between two deceased people, and they would essentially be married. And in some instances, it would be one person who's living marries one person who has been deceased. And that is the case in this book. Leland is still alive, and her father has already provided a match for her for marriage, but because one of the people from this family, the Lim family, passed away, the family member wanted to change the arrangements to have her marry his deceased son instead. This provides some tension for Leland, who does not want to marry someone who's already passed and doesn't want to lead that kind of life, a lonely life, a well provided for life because this family is well off, but a sad life in terms of not actually being able to be with a person. Many people would choose this option if they lost a loved one when they were fairly young and they wanted to do it to help the family prosper, to keep the family from having bad luck. Like, just a lot of reasons went into why they felt like it would be necessary to have someone still be married when they're no longer living here with us. So Leland is about 17, 18, because that's actually considered kind of old to not be married yet. But her family's been going through some things. Her dad retired and her mom passed away a few years back. So the marriage had just been getting delayed, and so she didn't even know that her dad had someone in mind for her at the beginning. And then he kind of, as a joke, mentioned the idea of being a ghost bride. She was like, oh, huh. And then later, when it seemed like it was actually supposed to be a more serious thing that her dad didn't really want to put her through, but the Lim family was really heavily trying to, like, get her to be on their side. Like, they invited her over for tea and to play mahjong or to watch the game or whatever. And so she could tell that they were just trying to butter her up to the idea, even though she was still very much in her head, like, I'm not going to marry someone who's dead. I thought it was interesting to see how defiant she was in the story, because I was always under the impression that arranged marriages were just a very common practice, that it wasn't really up to you and it didn't really matter what you thought, like you were just going to marry who you were arranged to marry. Maybe she would have been, fully accepting of it no matter who it was if they were alive, but in this instance, since he wasn't, maybe that's why she felt like she could fight it more. I don't know. I just thought that seemed different for her as a character, to have that kind of defiance automatically in her. Pretty early on in the story, she starts getting haunted by her supposed to be a husband, deceased husband, and he kind of is just trying to basically tell her, like, you have to marry me, so let's get on with it. And she is very freaked out about it. She has a hard time sleeping. She has her ama go and help her talk to a medium to see if there's a way to get the ghosts to leave her alone. She doesn't really tell ama who it is that's haunting her, but she ends up getting this, like, powder that she can take to help her sleep, and it's strong enough to where it will keep the ghosts from interfering with her dreams. Lim Tianqing is the deceased son that is trying to infiltrate her dreams and get her to want to marry him, or force her to. And she is just really getting upset by how much he is pushing into her dreams, that she basically overdoses on this black powder that she got from the medium. And that puts her into kind of like a coma, kind of, basically. And she leaves her body, and her spirit is just not wanting to accept her body at the moment. And so her spirit is separated from her body, kind of just wandering around and realizing that she is half dead, essentially, and that she needs to reunite with her body, but she needs to figure out how to keep Lim Tianqing from trying to marry her. And there's a couple of other things going on that she wants to figure out as well before she wants to return to her body. There's a couple of things with this that I felt like when I was reading it that I just wasn't fully getting into it. I don't know why I wanted to like this. I did like it, but I wanted to like it more than I liked it. I don't know if it's just because the fact that she's like half dead for a lot of the book, that she is in between the spirit world and the real world, and that she is leaving her body unattended and getting weaker every second that she's away, and the farther she gets from her body, the weaker and more like a ghost she's going to become. I just kept thinking, like, what is she doing? Why is she thinking that this is a good idea? Like, she's going to end up getting herself actually killed. Something's going to happen to her body. She's going to be stuck in between this like kind of state, and it's not going to be good for her in her afterlife, and it's not going to be good for her family. And I just didn't understand why she thought, like, some of her decisions seemed like they just weren't very smart. There were some times where she, not always, but sometimes she would get to the point where she was beating herself up, having self-doubt, having like poor me and pity party kind of, like, again, not as much as other books that I've read, like The Nature of Witches. That book, that main character bugged me so much because she was always like, I can't do this. I'm always letting everyone down. I know that I shouldn't do this because it's gonna hurt everybody, and I just can't. I just don't know what to do. And it's just, I don't care for characters that are the main characters when they are like that, where they are so just, I can't think of the right word, but you know what I mean. They just don't believe in themselves, and they use it almost like an excuse to not try, because when they do try, it doesn't work. So what's the point? And I just don't care for that in a main character. That wasn't happening so much with her in this story until like the second half, like maybe 2/3 of the way in, where she started being a little bit like that. She felt like there was something that happened was her fault. She felt like it was like what she was doing, like she should have done something differently. She should have listened more. She would have, could have, should have kind of situation. And it didn't last for too long, but when it started to do that, I was like, I don't know if I like this, where this is going. There is also kind of a, I don't want to say love triangle, because it's not really that, but it kind of hints towards that. While she is in this half and half state, she comes across another character who is an important character, and he always covers his face with a hat so that she can't see what he looks like. And it turns out that that the two of them are kind of trying to find a solution that's kind of in the same thing, the same realm. And so they're like, well, we can work together to get what we both want. And she kind of starts to like fall for him, but they don't even know each other that well. But then there's also this other guy, Tian Bai, who is actually part of the Lim family as well, and was supposed to be the person she was supposed to marry before it got switched to the ghost, to Lim Tianqing. So that's why I say it's kind of like a triangle, because there's like 3 guys and this one girl. So I guess that's really a square. But of course one of them is not wanted. So then it becomes a triangle again, right? And so even though there is not really too much romance in the book, like romance scenes, there is still like suggestions of possibilities within certain characters. And I just I could see it coming. I knew that's where it was going, but I didn't really want it to go that way, because I was just like, why is she suddenly, this should not be her priority right now. She should not be thinking about that right now. She should just be going back to her body before she like dies in this spirit world and officially leaves her body and is lost forever. And so I felt like her priorities weren't really in the best place. Like, she didn't have very good priorities for for most of this book. I just feel like she made things seem like she was the only one that could do it, and that she had to find the solution for all these things to get herself out of this marriage, and to not be haunted by this ghost anymore, and to be able to make things the way she wants it to be. But it was like, not all of these things should be in your control, or it's not meant for you to fix these things. Like, you need to protect your body and figure out how to get back into your body so you can be alive again. Like, it just seems like there were some benefits to her going on this adventure as a spirit, but there were also a lot of things that I think that, maybe, like I said, maybe it's just a me thing where if she was actually dead and we were just following a spirit and what the spirit world was like, and in China, how they believe like the different kinds of like there's a place called the Plains of Death, and so that's like one part, and then you have trials that you go to after. Once you're ready, you go through like these trials to figure out where you're going to end up for eternity, and there's just like these different stages once you die. And I think I might have been maybe more intrigued about it if that's all it was, where if like she really was a ghost the whole time and we were just learning about what it was like to be dead. I think maybe that would have been more interesting to me versus being like having this separation. But all in all, it was a very interesting subject, and I learned a lot of stuff about the afterlife and how her family, well, part of her family, like her ama was very much into the like superstitions and things like this and spiritual things. And I just think that part was the most interesting part to me, having her come back to her body or not come back to her body, or be in this like just like state of like, who knows what's gonna happen. I don't know. I guess I just didn't care for that, because I was just like feeling like really on edge, like she needs to go back to her body right now. Why isn't she doing it? And so I think that just made me like frustrated for a part of it. But if you think that actually sounds really like an interesting thing, and you would want to read something like that, and the whole concept is interesting to you, the afterlife and the real life, or whatever you want to call it, then grab it and read it, and let me know how you think, if you feel differently than I do about it. Because again, I know I feel like I probably made it seem like it wasn't that good, but I think a lot of people would like it more than I did, and I think it just didn't connect. I just didn't have a full connection to it like I wanted to. So I don't know, this book it was just kind of weird for me, like, because of that. Like, I felt like I had a disconnect to it for some reason. Anyway, if you would like to read it, give it a try. I have read The Night Tiger from her, and it was another book that I found kind of unusual, because it centered around a really interesting topic that maybe it's just her writing style that I'm like still trying to figure out if I like it. I did buy The Fox Wife from her, so I'm going to read that one soon and see if I have the same feeling, because if that's true, then maybe it's just the author. For me, I can't connect to her writing style or something. So we will see. Once I read The Fox Wife, I will let you know. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.